Hello, and thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. It's an interesting thing to know that someone is viewing what it is that I'm recording. There's a great satisfaction in it and a kind of fellowship that exists, I think, at least in my mind, of the action between the producer and the viewer, the putter-outer and the hearer. And I've really had an overwhelming sense of sorrow, a sense of, that the sorrow I know has been knocking at my door, and it's time to open up the door to my house and say, welcome, come on in, and let me tell you of what I'm experiencing. Let me tell you about who I am and what has been happening to me. And it's a fascinating thing, this idea of sorrow and being visited by sorrow. And I think of sorrow as a feminine form, and that inviting sorrow in is an opportunity to visit with that in a way that you just can't really do it very well if you're unprepared. And I think it's the preparation for sorrow, the preparation to work with sorrow on her terms, and to be there and to be present, and to experience that, what I would call savory experience that we all must have, and we all walk through and go through. And for me, it's been a sorrow of my experience of my country, and essentially the world around. And I pray for the world. I pray for all who are in it, the physical and non-physical beings. You are all in my prayers. And I'm glad to be able to do that. It feels good. It feels important to be able to do that, to feel connected in that sense of a prayerful consciousness and awareness consciousness, I think, is probably the better way to describe it. But it's part of something very interesting and very important, and that is the expansion and expression of life force, and how life force mutates. And it mutates in a way, or it propagates itself. It is a self-creating, a recreating entity that we are all part of. And I think the most important thing I could say for life force itself is that it's not personal. Life force seems to exist on its own terms, and that we enter in with a different kind of mentality, a different kind of consciousness, which lets us utilize and be part of life force as part of the expansion of the cosmos, the living being of the cosmos. So it is a way, I guess, perhaps like electricity, it lights up our houses, but once it's done its work, we're not part of it. We are not part of the electrical moment, although we are electrical, and so there's a sympathy there that's very important. And sorrow is like that, as it allows us to connect to life force in a way that, most importantly, allows us to express our being in the context of the expansion of the cosmos. And as life force then works its way through our life, and we begin to sort of slip away in the history of life force, the time of life force, because life force does exist in time, we then get to participate for a limited time in the expansion of life force as it expresses itself in the cosmos. So our moving away, our aging in time, is the sorrow that I'm speaking of, as I can feel my time moving away from me. It's beginning to morph into something else. It's beginning to morph to the future that is on the event horizon that I can see. And it replicates itself without my effort. I do what I do to congratulate myself on being here, but also to praise the fact of my creation by doing as much as I can to facilitate the expansion of creation. And what that means is that I'm living not for myself, but for the fact of creation, for the fact of life, as it expresses itself continuously on the leading edge of all that there is. And the sorrow that I feel is that there are parts of my life and who I am and what I have done that has not been completely devoted to life force, not really devoted to the being that is the God of us all, who is, in fact, all of us. All of every moment, all of every instant is, in fact, the divine hierarchy expressing itself through me. So what I have reserved for myself is where I feel the sorrow. Sorrow has come to the door, and it is examining me, and it is looking at me as though there is work still to be done, that I must devote myself more completely to the task of honoring my creation by giving away what it is that I have, by expressing it in an outward action that's very important. That action is my turning my will and myself over to the divine, to connect to the divine hierarchy. That's what I want to do. Reserving part of my life force for myself to become, how shall I say, trying to capture life force for my own joy, my own pleasure, is the weakness that I am being exposed to, or is exposing itself. And sorrow is doing that. Sorrow is very beautiful. The beauty of sorrow. As sorrow allows me to see myself as I really am, and to say, well, I didn't do what I wanted to do. I didn't do the things that should have increased life force. I did things to reserve life force for myself, to indulge myself in my own pleasures, in the things that made me feel more powerful, more charismatic, much more fortuitous. And all those things that I have reserved for those purposes, I can now see that they were poorly chosen. And sorrow has brought her gaze to me and made that abundantly clear. And so that's the message I bring to you, to allow sorrow to come into your life, to present herself to you, that you might more clearly see who you are, as I have seen more clearly who I am. And there is a dismay, a sorrow of that. So perhaps I'm saying that sorrow is not really sorrow. It's reflecting who I am in an entity that makes itself known to me, and its presence reflects me. The being is me. The being shows me in all that I am, in a beauty that is withering, a powerful beauty experience. To experience that beauty and to know that there are parts of me, there are times that I have not been beautiful. And it is time for me to recognize that and understand it, and to see it, and to be illumined. And it is that moment that I cherish, and I look forward to each of you being able to participate in that, because it is an expansion experience. It is a broadening experience. It's a chance to participate in more, to see more of the cosmos as it unfolds, My gosh, what joy. That is powerful stuff. So that is my meditation for today, to allow sorrow to enter in, to confront sorrow, to be present in front of sorrow, and to experience what sorrow has to bring to me to enhance my being. And in that enhancement of being, my calling becomes more clear, and I am more obedient to the divine and to understand it in a context of my own life. That's a joy. So there's not a philosophical, theoretical view here. It is a deeply personal, emotional, feeling thing that I recommend to all of you into your meditations, and to invite sorrow into your life, that you might have a great experience. In fact, a sweet experience that can only add to your joy. And it adds to my joy. And I thank you for your attention, and I hope you will come back again. Write to me if you like. Amen.